there was always more stuff to do than I had time to do, and there were always, as you said, some big project that really required the kind of focus you're talking about, the sort of merging with the work and getting in there if I was going to do it efficiently. Otherwise, I had to do it in like bits and pieces, and it takes just forever. Like a 3-page PowerPoint deck takes, 2 months or something like that, because it's just, I can only do it in the little bits here and there. Whereas if I could just sit down for a couple hours, and I think that's a common feeling that a lot of people have, especially leaders in game dev, because they're in so many meetings and there's so many different things to do. What does it mean to can I just sit down and like get the thing done, get the big thing, that task that I need to do? But they feel torn by all those other demands on their attention that are living in their head.
Yeah.
And that, to some extent, if they forgot about, would be bad, right? Because then they would, then they wouldn't do them, and some of them matter. Okay, so I'm kicking this out to you. Like, what, for that person, for that leader, for me, right, overwhelmed with all those little things.
Yeah.
And yet here's the big stuff to do.
Yeah.
How do I go about reframing my individual environment?
As a leader, as a founder, you have to be the big picture person. So ideally, you need to understand or have the right people that help you understand the different mechanisms behind what the functions are within the different areas of your business. And then you need to translate that into things that people can take ownership of and have agency over themselves to create the activities and mechanisms. And this can only happen if you have the right guiding principles and values. And you can't copy that. It's just not possible. Because
What do you mean by that? So you need the right principles and values, but you can't copy them. I assume that means that, look, you have to actually embody these things. They have to be lived out inside of the organization for them to be true. You can't just write it on the wall, right? It has to be real. What are those things? What are the values and principles that help design an environment for flow?
Well, again, there's some mechanisms that need to be put into place, right? So the environment needs to be able to facilitate individuals to go and shut the door and tell everyone to stay out if they have something that they need to do on themselves.
Okay.
It also needs to foster familiarity. So you have to have an environment where they can interact in one way or another, and this could be within a game or at the water cooler. It doesn't really matter. And then you need to have a place where you can co-create and sit together, right? Where you have different meeting rooms and have to have space to have breaks. And this can be outside of the venue, or it could be in their homes or whatever. But you need to design different places and rituals. And it can be the same place that does the same thing. But you need to figure out what your organization needs in order for their values and principles to come alive, and allow people to have activities that allow them to go off on their own and do their thing and not get interrupted. But at the same time, be able to sit together and facilitate something that comes out of the blue that helps solve a problem. And that's challenging, right? It takes work, it takes effort, but the alternative is not working.
So if you were to go into, well, I'll ask us a couple questions. Again, we're trying to design the organization for flow at the team and individual level, and balancing those things.
Yep.
So if a random company, like you've been working with game dev studios,
Yeah.
You show up and you look around, what do you commonly see as the things that are getting in the way of this ideal state?
Poor leadership is definitely one. Or misunderstood leadership is probably the better word to put in it. I also see a lack of understanding what your multitasking is doing to your brain and to your work and to the game that you're working on.
Okay.
Depending on the size of the organization, then there's some regular business activities that are not helpful.
Okay.
This could be meetings where people are forced to be sitting in, but they're not getting any chance to partake in that meeting. And why are they there?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have this resource of a different perspective of a person that might have a different angle that has a better solution, but you're not drawing them in. And even
Okay.
if you could do that, then you're not designing it in a way where they feel it's safe to speak. Another thing is because these underlying principles of what the values and the mechanisms of the game, the big ones have this, right? They have this in place. But smaller studios or double A's not necessarily have put as much time into this.
Did you enjoy this episode? If you did and are looking for more conversations like this one, join the Building Better Games Discord community. It's for leaders and producers in game dev who are frustrated with solving the wrong problems and who want to share experiences and learn how to lead and build better games. Check out the show notes to join. I'll see you there.